So this is it. This is the very first episode of All Angles Podcast. On this point, we're going to start talking about sports, in particular hockey. There's going to be a ton of hockey talk because that's the sport I'm closest to. And one person that's going to be with me on all the hockey stuff and a ton of the sports stuff, just because we've both done a lot of things and failed at it all. Just kidding. This person I've actually known since I think about 2012 when I lived in Texas. He started hockey all the way back in 1979. He is still alive in regards of how old he might be. He actually started when he was 3 years old in Dallas. He ended up going to Northwood School, which is up in Lake Placid, New York, from 92 to 95. Also attended Iowa State for a year, which he has great things to say about that. He is, I believe, and he'll correct me when he comes up, the second Texan to sign a pro contract. Second Texan in history, I believe, to sign a pro contract. He signed with the Oklahoma City Blazers in the Central Hockey League. That was back in 97. Also signed with a bunch of other teams, but he actually never ended up playing a pro game. That's kind of the minors for you. And then how I met him was as a coach. And he started his coaching way back in 97 before he was actually with the Blazers during the inaugural high school league over in Oklahoma City when he was living there. He's coached everything from mites to now he coaches in Division I ACHA college. He is an instructor and a demonstrator for the Laura Stan Power Skating School back in the 90s. Level 5 USA Hockey certified, which is a bigger deal than people realize. I've been sitting on level 4 forever. He's also USA Hockey Director certified. And as a coach, he does not come without his awards and his successes, that's for sure, because he won a Minnesota Junior Hockey League title with the Marquette Royals when they qualified for the Junior Nationals at the time. Then he was out with the New York Aviators in the USPHL, where they finished second at the Junior Nationals. He's been in the ACHA for a little bit of time. I'm reading over this right now, so you're going to have to bear with me. But national title appearances in 5 seasons and 2 appearances with Missouri State, and made the quarterfinals last year with Drury University in their first year as ACHA Division I. And he is also the 2-time Drury University Assistant Coach of the Year. There's a ton of stuff that I just said there, but his name is Cliff Cook. I've known him for quite some time, and he gives me almost more shit than everybody. So this is Cliff. Cliff, did I get all that right?
Close enough.
Close enough.
Little tweaks in there. Non-NCAA Coach of the Year. Yeah, not just Assistant Coach of the Year. Non-NCAA. They split it off. What else did I hear in there? We totally jacked up.
What about the second Texan to sign a pro contract?
As far as my family knows, and this is always, especially being from Texas, a tough one to clarify. It's the third, not the second. Brian Leach being the first and clearly the more successful.
That guy had no career whatsoever.
No. And then I had an older brother that signed the old WPHL, and then obviously I had my crazy 3-year run of practicing a lot, and that's about it.
So 2 of the first 3, though, under the same household.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's
and
crazy in
again,
itself.
There might have been some in there that we just don't know about, but yeah, as far as we are aware in our family and our deep roots, as you mentioned, I started in '79. My family's been involved in hockey in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in Texas in general, since the early '70s. So we go way back. Family's still doing it, in fact. So still going strong in Texas with hockey and figure skating.
That's right. You have the figure. Is it just the skates, the figure skating that they're building, or they're making or maintaining?
Maintaining? No, they have a full pro shop, hockey and figure skating, selling boots and blades for figure skating and everything that implies. Used to be big into. My mom used to actually design and make figure skating dresses as well. Doesn't really do that anymore. But then obviously everything that goes with hockey, from equipment to repairs to everything you can name. They're the oldest hockey and figure skating shop in the South, coming up pretty close to 40 years now. Not quite there yet, but pretty close.
Wow. And the year I met you is when you were coaching the Texas Brahmas in the Western States Hockey League, which...
Oh, the old dub-ass.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, looking back, it was a fun league for what it was. There were some good players. But I will say the Brahmas were the best dressed team on any ice. Like those uniforms are all pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that same for the coaching staff, but the team looked pretty good.
Well, if we're on the bench, we already lose.
Oh, for sure. I think I sent you a few photos from back in the day there, and this up here looked a lot different than it does now. Not sure which is worse. I think the previous is.
Cliff just triggered a cough out of me. I'm still getting over being sick. We didn't want to wait too long because the test of this went pretty well. And Cliff and I, we've known each other now for, it's like, what, 12, 13 years, actually.
At least, yeah.
And we always talk about hockey, and we're always got an opinion. And so when we said, hey, let's do this podcast thing, it only makes sense because our phone conversations are basically unrecorded podcasts.
Well, I will say the interesting thing with us, too, and we do give each other a lot of shit as much as humanly possible. In fact, it's fun. And when Jeremy's involved, which hopefully we'll have Lozzie on at some point, too, just for the pure entertainment value. But, you know, and I think you'll agree, it's more than hockey with us. We get into a lot of other things, which is why this podcast is exciting. You know, the primary thing, I think, like you said earlier, for us will be hockey and sports based, but we'll definitely get outside those lines and talk about plenty more. But I think to get her going here, it's definitely going to be hockey heavy. It's the time of year for it, if nothing else. So
yeah,
even though it is, I feel like this is going really late into the spring/summer. It's just crazy. But that's a whole other.
It's ever since COVID, the NHL season has been longer because, like, even just the other day, June 7th was the day the Capitals raised the Stanley Cup in the 6th game.
Who's that?
Yeah, they're just a team. But this is public, and considering I work for the organization, you will respect the Eagle. We're not going to bring up the jersey again, though, because
we're going to bring it up.
I'm not bringing up the jersey because I want this to go the full time we allotted for, and I don't want to shut it down because I'm going to throw a fit. But yeah, it's still going right now. It just goes longer now, and I think they're giving more days in between games to kind of help the players.
Kind of had to when you're talking about Miami to Edmonton. I mean, that's
unbelievable.
I don't care if you're flying charter or not. That's all.
Yeah, that's a huge trek, especially when you have to go to Edmonton. And I want Edmonton to win. But
just get that out of the way now.
Yeah. But yeah, we want them to win. I love Brad Marchand. I'll say that publicly. But they won last year, and McDavid's legacy will be sealed with a Stanley Cup.
It's sad to say that that is going to be needed to seal it because it should be sealed already. He's the best to have done it. I don't.
The goals he scores.
And I'm saying that with a Gordie Howe Hartford Whalers photo over my shoulder. He's my hero, but McDavid's he's just a different human.
He is. Hey, Gordie, let's cue all the people in Hartford saying we need the team back here. Hartford, Connecticut, your city is a dump. You'll never have another NHL team.
You're off to a rage.
This is what we call rage bait. But what we're going to focus on is not going to be a lot of the NHL. There's a ton of awesome podcasts out there that talk about the NHL. I'm a huge fan of Empty Netters. Those guys are actually pretty great. We are going to focus kind of where our expertise lies is in the college and below sector of everything. Like when I coached with Cliff, it was juniors. Like I said, the Western States, then the Minnesota League, and then the SIJHL, which I can't believe is still around, which is part of Hockey Canada. Growing up, we were witnessing the whole Junior A, B, and C in America to now turned into Junior A, Tier 1, 2, and 3, which is the same thing. But parents really just were like, I want my team to be Junior A. I want my son to be Junior A. So they found a way to charge him for it. The state of junior hockey in Canada, from major juniors to being allowed to go NCAA, and now also with Cliff coaching in the ACHA, which, let me tell you, I started organized coaching with the University of South Florida many years ago before I ended up in Texas. They're ACHA D3. They take it very seriously, and I give those kids a lot of credit. But it's just not the organization that they have at a lot of these Division I schools, even in club. And then when you get to NCAA, everything's a varsity sport, so it goes a little bit better. But two of the last teams Cliff has been with, between Missouri State and Drury, the stuff they do for the players, the locker rooms they have there, the attendance they bring to these games is pretty awesome, and they're treated like a varsity team, which has got to make it easier for recruiting.
Well, it's interesting because it's a tale of two different worlds, even though we literally share a rink and our locker rooms are 6 feet apart from each other. But in the 3 years I was at Missouri State, Jeremy had been there for 3 years prior, so he was there a total of 6 years. And we keep bringing up Jeremy. We might as well go ahead and get this out there. Jeremy, one of our closest friends. I've known him even longer than I've known John. It's got to be over 20 years by now. This is now the third team that Jeremy and I have coached together. Obviously with the Brahmas, as John mentioned earlier, and then now Missouri State for 3 years, and the last two with Drury University. But yeah, it's a tale of two cities, if you will. Missouri State is truly considered, and I'm going to say the four-letter word that I know you hate and I hate, but just to kind of give it some perspective, it is considered a club sport at Missouri State. It's run through the intramural department. They don't get funding from the university other than literally like $2,500 if they're lucky. To the point where you almost say, just keep your money, let us do our thing. It's not run through the athletic department at all. So all the funding is done by the program. And, for 20-something years now that they've had a team, originally started by the great Stan Melton, who's still around. He's actually my landlord, because I'm sitting in my house right now. Amazing guy. He started the program. He's the reason there's a facility here to even play in. But they did a great job, and I really have nothing bad to say about my time there. Now at Drury, circumstances led both Jeremy and I to make the move across the street. Quite literally, the campuses are not even a half mile apart, I don't think.
It's like a college town.
It truly is. There's 3 significant universities here, with Missouri State being the biggest, Drury second biggest, and then Evangel, and then there's some little smaller colleges too. But the difference is we are a school sport. As I mentioned earlier, the non-NCAA thing, that's a moniker given to all the non-NCAA sports at the university that are truly run by the athletics department. We are school employees. We're not, as we were at Missouri State, basically contract labor to the club. We actually work for the university, and there's pros and cons to everything, as you can imagine. But it definitely has been, the 2 years we've been at Drury have been an eye-opener, but it's been a lot of fun, and we're surrounded by some pretty great people.
And it's like club hockey is growing. Like club hockey is growing pretty big. They have a huge national tournament now, and it's getting its dues, and they're getting players from now. Well, now they can get players from the CHL, which we'll get into the whole education of the junior leagues and what it used to mean. Basically, up until this year, if you wanted to play in college, you could not play in the CHL, which is the Canadian Hockey League, which is ultimately a pro league for kids 16 to 20 years old. They get paid, they get signing bonuses, and because of that jeopardizing their amateur status, they were not allowed to go play in college. They had to come through one of the other junior leagues throughout Canada or the United States. But now with this whole NIL, the athletes are getting paid in college now, and it's just made a mess of everything as far as players and where they're going. And now you got CHL guys going to what's technically club hockey, which is wild to me. And you're going to have what I predict one of the biggest mafia showdowns as far as recruiting in club hockey. Because you're going to get what I predict a bunch of schools going, well, we're going to be NCAA. And we've seen that.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already happening. It's been happening for a while. I will say, and I mentioned earlier that dirty 4-letter word, those of us hate the word club. Because for many years it was. It was essentially glorified adult league. But as you said, if you were to go to the national tournament, don't even go to the national tournament, go to a regular season game, either here in Springfield or up in Michigan or wherever. Out UNLV, wherever. Liberty. God, you can watch Liberty on ESPN.
Yeah, they're on ESPN a couple times a year.
Well, they have an ESPN Plus deal, so all their home games are on ESPN Plus. So, I mean, you're getting 2,000 fans plus a night. We're just under Missouri State. We were selling out the building every night. 1,200 fans. Standing room only. 6 deep around the glass. Drury, we're getting closer to that. We're not quite there yet, but might be this year. But it's the club thing is out the way. It's college hockey. I don't care what anybody says. You can make all the arguments, understandably, that you want. It's not NCAA. It's not that. Go to a game. You're going to see a great crowd, a great atmosphere, and some great hockey. But as you said, it's as good as it is now, and as it's built and built and built, it's only getting better. I mean, when you start seeing player signings these days, and they had the vote this summer, just literally this summer. It's not even summer really yet, but
yeah,
they had the vote literally just a few weeks ago at the ACHA national meetings to go along with what the NCAA has done with regards to the CHL players being permitted to play. And as predicted, within a few days, we already had teams announcing some guys. And, we're getting NCAA Division I transfers. We're getting USHL kids. I say we as a league. Jury's not getting that. We've kind of laid claim to one league, it seems like, at this point. But, now that these things have changed, the recruiting has changed as well. We're looking at those higher level leagues because of the trickle-down effect that's happening because of what's going on.
Yeah, and it's funny because the world of recruiting from when Cliff and I were being recruited for any kind of college sports, it's
recruited. No one wanted me.
Northeastern.
Shut up.
But
they weren't recruiting me, by the way. Far from it.
But I mean, the recruiting days, and I don't know how much of it the same it is now. I think everything's so online, and they'll come to your games sometimes. But I mean, when I was coming home, hockey and baseball are my sports, much like Cliff. Actually, we have that very much in common. And I would come home to college coaches sitting at my table in my kitchen. And I feel bad for them now because my mom was a heavy smoker, and my mom didn't give a shit. She was going to smoke in the house with the college coach. And but I would come home, and they're sitting there in my kitchen. Now, granted, especially for hockey, I grew up in a much more fruitful area as far as college hockey goes, like growing up in upstate New York versus Texas.
Slightly different from Carrollton, Texas.
Yeah, a little different, especially at the time. But for baseball, it's Texas and New York was kind of the same thing. Central New York is ironically a very high baseball recruiting area. But yeah, at the same time, we did that. Now everything's online. Players can be seen just through videos online, through YouTube, or wherever they're going to post these videos. The funny part to me is that as much of Cliff and I were absolute jerks when we were kids. I guarantee that. Kids now have to be very careful about what they put online to ruin it. Yeah, Cliff, I'm sure you were just an angel. But kids now have to be super careful about what they put online because that can ruin their recruiting chances. And so, they have to start acting more mature and be model kids from a younger age. But the talent's getting up there because I'll tell you right now, I don't care where I was recruited. If I tried to step into any college league, if I was the player I was back then, I would be just annihilated within the first 10 seconds. There's no business being in that. But the other problem that's going on now is outside of, the college is growing, which is great. The talent will go up. But there's 8 billion junior leagues.
Yeah. And, just to give you, and we're going to get deeper into this as we go along, but just to kind of follow that note, I did a little research just last night in preparation of this. There are a total, I got to do a little bit of math in my head, but let's just do it this way, of USA Hockey junior options. And this is from Tier 3 to Tier 1, so NA3 to USHL. Just the USA Hockey options, there are 89 organizations.
Jesus.
That's just USA Hockey. You think that's something? Non-NCAA or non-USA Hockey options, 179.
Is that still just in the USA?
Yeah, I didn't even look at Canada. I got through this and went, holy shit, what are we doing here?
So is that a huge jump to, AAU?
So, and I don't know if they're technically using the AAU platform. There's been some questions about where, but let's just call it non-USA Hockey because the USPHL left USA Hockey back.
Oh, that's right.
So December 2016 is when they got denied Tier 2 status for what they were trying to start at the time.
For the NCDC, right?
Now known as NCDC. So in December 2016, they got denied by USA Hockey to have a Tier 2 league to compete with the North American League. So that following year is when they left USA Hockey. So 17-18 season was their first. In 2022, which strangely enough, I was not aware of this, and one of my good friends is coaches in that league. The EHL left USA Hockey as well, and I was not aware of that. That just happened a couple years ago. So when you combine those two leagues, USPHL having the elite, like they've always had, having the premier like they've always had, and now the NCDC, which is a Tier 2 status. And for those that don't know, although a lot of people that watch this probably have an idea, Tier 2 basically just means obviously higher level hockey, but also it's tuition free. Kids aren't paying to be there. It's same as the North American Hockey League and obviously the USHL on the USA Hockey side of things.
Which the North American League is where the NCDC basically just took their model from, for the most part.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know about you. I'm going to say this now. I'm not using this platform to sit here and bash any leagues. That's not what this is about. It's just informational, if nothing else. Not to say that I wouldn't love to bash a few people, because there's some absolute garbage out there. No question. But every league has their pluses. Every league has their minuses. Every league has great coaching. Every league has crap coaching. We all know that. It's the best fit for what your player is. But the fact that combined there are, again, I'm not a math major. We know this. Nearly.
I'm surprised you can read.
Well, as I'm looking at this, I mean, it's just a hair, just slightly under 300 total organizations. And to make that math even better, you're talking about teams that are supposed to, and this is a whole other conversation, and one I'm very familiar with because of my coaching career, the juniors, have anywhere between 30 to 34 players. Some even more, because they like to hoard players. I've coached teams that I was lucky to put 10 guys in a lineup.
I mean, when we coached, when we left Texas to go to New Mexico, the big push was to fill that roster with, they didn't care if it was a hot steaming pile of garbage. They needed to fill that roster so they could start bringing in the money. And I'm sure there's going to come a time where Clip and I will say who our owner was and the problems that we had. And they were real problems. These aren't like, if I say anything, hey, first of all, if I say anything, unless I say on behalf of me and Cliff, I'm not speaking for Cliff, I'm speaking for myself. But going through it and living what it is, I mean, that's why I left coaching. I left coaching just because it became such a mess of what you're getting paid. The last coaching job I ever accepted was back in Central New York. I took it because it was home for me, and I thought it'd be cool to be so close to home and coach there. And then it turned into, they didn't want to pay me with a paycheck. They wanted me to travel all over the country to recruit these kids, but not pay for me to go. They wanted me to come out of pocket. And then they wanted me to, they gave me a list of every kid and a phone number and said, call them and sign them. I said, I don't know anything about the player. You want to put a good team on the ice, and especially if you're trying to develop these kids. And he's like, doesn't matter. Call them and sign them, get their money. And that was verbatim what it was. And we'll get into the topic of cost in a different episode. We have that planned already, including parents that are going to help us talk about this. But that's why they do it. That's why they do these showcases in March and April, is so they could start raising money for the teams. And I get it. They're businesses. They need to make money to operate. They have league fees they have to pay every single year. They have all these other things they have to pay. And the players aren't getting paid, but they're also not making their budget on ticket sales, especially out east. I mean, out east is like, what, 50 people at a game?
Yeah. And I will say, personal experience, as you will say as well. And I, kind of, if you will, producing on the fly here, scheduling on the fly between you and I know at some point there's going to be a conversation, maybe multiple conversations we have about the mental health side of all of this, because I know you went through it. I've gone through it. I'm not as vocal as you've been. Maybe I should be, because you've done some amazing videos and amazing stuff on social media. Not to toot your horn, I hate doing that shit. But,
Cliff just complimented me. I'm going to clip this part. Everybody's bearing witness to this. I'm highlighting. This is the whole episode. That's all, folks. Hey, thanks, guys, for listening.
No, but it takes a toll. And I also want to preface this by saying we've got a lot of friends that have had wonderful experiences and have stayed with programs for a long time because they're treated well. Doesn't mean they're not working their ass off. It's people. I've had conversations with people. Again, we're kind of getting a little off topic, but it all goes together. I've had conversations with people about how much longer am I going to keep coaching? How much longer can I handle this grind? And they say, well, there's guys in the NHL that are coaching into their 70s and all that. It's like, yeah, they've got massive amounts of people around them It's not like Tier 3 juniors or even ACHA, depending on where you are, where it's a one-man show, two-man show if you're lucky. Not to say we don't have unbelievable volunteers, especially here at Drury, that help us, on game nights in particular and with some fundraising. But when you're doing it on your own, and God, I would have killed for a 40-hour work week at some point in my career. That's never going to happen. It's a grind. And not to say we don't love the hell out of it. We love hockey. There's nothing I enjoy more than seeing the success of the guys, and it's a blast. But it takes a toll. And that's, again, not to say that there aren't guys that have a much different experience than I've had, than I think you've had, because a couple of those experiences you had, we've had shared.
Yeah.
So, we've both been through it. And how many junior teams did I end up coaching over the years? I don't know, other than the people, like in the towns. I've enjoyed every town I've been in. I've enjoyed the players, generally speaking, 99.9% of them. As far as the people running the organizations, I don't know that I've ever had a truly quality experience.
Yeah, and that's the other crazy part. Is like it's a double-edged sword, because like New Mexico, a lot of people think New Mexico, they think Breaking Bad, but honestly, New Mexico was great. Like as an area.
There's an irony in the fact that library that's right next to the rink is what they use as the storefront for the bank to go buy the RV.
Literally right next door
to that.
Right next
to the rink, and the neighborhood right across the street from the rink is where they filmed a lot of the show. So,
in fact, I believe, and I could be wrong in here, but I believe one of the houses where the guy fell out of the window in that first episode, I think that was one of our billet houses.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because they talked about that all the time, and it was actually Rio Rancho, not even quite Albuquerque, but I think one of the nicest thing was driving into Albuquerque in the middle of the night when you're coming through the mountains. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's so nice. And then you ended up in Montana, speaking of a nice area. And
I've been very fortunate, as you know. I went from New Mexico to Marquette, Michigan, which was stunning. I know people think that's nuts because there was 9 million inches of snow, but
yeah, but when you're talking to us on the lake in the winter, that's what we aim for.
The rink is literally 20 feet from Lake Superior. It's just stunning. And then from there to Brooklyn, New York. how are you gonna go wrong there, coaching?
That was pretty cool.
And then Colorado Springs. I was there. Coached there for a year. That's where I coached.
Name drop, Cliff.
Jeremy Swayman. I got it.
Honestly, I'm not even busting your chops about that. When you got a guy who has a name like he does in the NHL and for USA Hockey, like Jeremy Swayman, and that's awesome.
As you know as well as I am, and I think you're in the same boat as I am, I didn't do a damn thing for Jeremy. I confidence because I don't know shit about goalies. All I know is I couldn't score on him, so I boosted his confidence, and now that's why he's in. Number one.
Did he say every day? It's like even Grandpa can't score on me, so I got a shot at the NHL.
See, I complimented you a minute ago.
I got all sorts of compliments. I'm just waiting for the right time.
You're not that much younger than me.
No, sir, I'm not. My beard is a heck of a lot more gray than yours is. So.
By the way, don't think I didn't catch that. Yeah, he started in 1979 and he's still alive. Thank you.
But this is actually a very tame conversation compared to normal. So, but it's still just cool to have a guy like that kind of come through your ranks because. It's funny for me when I coached in Wisconsin for the SIJHL, which the SIJHL is a funny league because it's technically part of like Canadian Junior A. I took over a team that was 0-30 when I got there. Like it was end of November, beginning of December, and Hockey Canada, you don't get to add and drop as much as you want like you can in USA Hockey, but they have a certain amount of transactions you're allowed to make. And it's not many. And I got there and almost all of them were used. I picked up a couple players. We ended up winning a couple games. And the cool thing was we beat a team that was like number 10 in all of Hockey Canada at the time. And then another team that was like 15. Those are big moral victories for our guys that work so hard. But the league itself, it's not at the level of like the BCHL or the Alberta League. But they all play for the same cup at the end of the year.
Well, see, you say that, and now everything's changed there too. Again, get back to kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Getting back to our initial conversation about junior, like BCHL is no longer part of Hockey Canada.
Yeah, and again, we all know it comes down to money one way or another. But like,
it does, but I've never had anyone, and I've, as soon as they started talking about this, and I researched it, I've talked to people up there. Obviously, I know people that are coaching up in that part of the world. Maybe not necessarily in the BCHL itself, although I used to work with a guy that is a big name in that league, but his team's not even there anymore. They're in the WHL. But, Wenatchee. But I'm talking about the great Bliss Littler at Wenatchee. Bliss is
Bliss.
Yeah. But anyways, I have yet to have anybody truly whether I agree with it or not. I kind of understand what the USPHL did. I again didn't know the AHL had left as well, but more power to them. I get people have their issues with USA Hockey. I think it's 6 one, half a dozen another. At the end of the day, USA Hockey does a good job in 99% of the stuff they do, and then there's other stuff where you just shake your head. But you can say that about anybody.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily understand the BCHL story, and maybe someone will explain it to me one day.
So are they still Junior A though?
Well, they're their own thing. But the other thing is, there's quite a few of those teams that are now jumping to the WHL.
Right, but what I mean by junior, are they still like the same level as they were before? It's not like they're not like. Okay.
Yeah, nothing's changed here. The only thing that has changed now is now that they've left, Hockey Canada is promoting some other leagues to Junior A. But the weird scenario there is, even within those leagues, and I actually kind of appreciate this because it goes to something I think we're going to talk about at the end, which, when we talked about how to go with this episode and you mentioned what will we change, I didn't have a good answer, but this is one of them, and I think this is a weird scenario how Hockey Canada is doing this. So like the KIJHL, for example, most of their teams are now promoted to Junior A, but not all. So there's like a version of relegation, if you will. Like if you're not up to par, that doesn't necessarily mean wins and losses, but that means how is your organization being run?
Yeah.
And I think that's more important than any wins and losses is, do you truly have the financial backing that you need to do it the right way and are not depending on player income, that kind of stuff. And that's the bigger cost conversation we're going to have in future episodes here.
And I cannot tell you how much I love the idea of relegation in junior hockey leagues.
I do too. And that's going to, we might end up being kind of similar on that when we talk about this, here in a few minutes. I don't know how it would even work. I love the idea. I love the idea of the ACHA. It's been brought up multiple times in the ACHA. I just don't see a scenario where, for one, it would ever be voted yes.
Yeah.
You're never getting that majority.
Especially by those teams that know they're bad.
Yeah, this is not going to happen. But I just don't see a scenario where it would play out properly. Well, think about it, too. Let's put it this way. USA Hockey, it's almost impossible. You've got three leagues, and two of them are run by the same person.
Yeah.
You're not. There's not going to be. I mean, there's 38 teams as of right now in the NA3HL. There's 35 in the NAHL, and about a third of those are combined. Like they have both teams.
Yeah.
What are you relegating there? Nothing.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think that league there, the way they used to promote themselves is, I know now they have a mandatory call-up rule, I believe, but like the NA, yeah. So I think they should treat that much more like AHL to NHL, where they send guys up and down, whether it's for conditioning and stuff like that. The issue you run into, especially if you want to talk about relegating leagues and teams, the issue you run into is, especially in the ACHA, let's take the Florida teams, which I know they went off and did their own thing, but some teams that are in that thing are also ACHA, like Alabama, I believe. Or is that changed again too?
We're getting into a whole confusing thing here again if we want to go that route.
Yeah, we won't.
Well, but Alabama's has had both.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I was meaning.
Yeah, but they've had them for a while. The other teams are just purely have gone CHF. Except for one, there's still one school that remains in the ACHA and then complains that people don't want to come travel to them.
Is it Florida Gulf Coast?
It is Florida Gulf Coast. And they just had an article out saying that they're all, their goal is to go NCAA Division I. Well, good for
who's going to go there?
But who's going to go?
Well, that's kind of the problem with relegating teams is like they might have a thing, but if they get relegated down a league, some teams are that division because of where they are.
Well, and they're a dominant team at Division Two. There's no question.
Oh, they were at Division One and Division Two even back when I was coaching. They were disgusting.
2 and 3 now, I think. And they're a dominant team. They don't win the national championship every year, but they come close. You know, they're just that kind of team. But that doesn't make you an NCAA program. The one lately that everybody's talked about, I'm not breaking news because it's been on everybody's lips, is UNLV. Again, we're getting off the junior topic here, but it's important because everybody talks about UNLV going NCAA Division I. They beat Denver. They did this and that. Well, yeah, and we can be excited about that. Look a little deeper into the score sheet, taking nothing away from you what UNLV did. They're getting USHL kids. They're getting D1 transfers. They just won the national championship, rightfully so. They're a phenomenal team.
That would have been such a bust if they didn't.
But there's much more to it than just saying, yep, we're going Division I.
Yeah.
Who's paying for it?
You got to have proper arena and stuff like that.
Playing, yeah. Like, it's not just to snap your fingers and it happens. Otherwise, a lot more teams would have done it.
Yeah, they have standards. I mean, in NCAA hockey, Division 1 and 3, because there's really no Division 2.
There's like 4 teams left, I think.
Yeah, there were 6. Like last time I checked, and now there's 4. So I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Just go D3. Yeah. But like with it, they have to have certain accommodations for the players. Like you have to have a locker room that you leave your stuff in. You have to have an arena that hosts your team. Whether it's shared or not, it's still you have to have a pretty decent facility for that. As there's actual rules and while I know we've been scattered because. The reason we've been scattered.
Episode 1, we're figuring this out.
We're getting our wheels, but you know what? It's very serendipitous to exactly how college and junior hockey is. It's all over the place, and I mean, how many times have you said that's changed since I coached? And I still kind of pay attention to it, but with all the changes that there's actually been, I mean, it's like you said, it's a grind that people have to stick it out to be in it. And it's wearing on you. The recruiting process is crazy. You guys are fortunate that you've had a connection in the KIJHL to get all these players. And not just a connection, a guy who's had an enormous coaching career that has respect on every building he'll ever walk into. And it's Jeremy's dad. I don't know why I'm making it sound like I don't know why I'm saying it like it's a secret that Ken Law. He is, I love that guy. Like if anybody could be my grandpa, I'd want it to be him or you, Cliff. But you know what? No. But it's if you relationships that you have to have are a big thing. And one of the things I wanted to go over that we'll probably have to take into a different one is even just like the landscape of junior hockey, which we kind of touched base on it, but it ties into the money. It ties into their relationships with college. It ties into other teams that they may or may not move players up to. One thing I can attest to, when Cliff and I were coaching, one thing that we shared is our whole mission wasn't about wins and losses. It was what's the next step we can send our players to. Like, what can we do for them now that will make them better at the end of the year so these college teams are going to be like, I like this kid. It wasn't about us. And in fact, for as much crap as we talk, we took ourselves out of the picture so greatly. And it was like, what can we move this guy on to next? And we had a couple of our players move up. They were great players. They were guys that weren't even very heavily recruited. And we got them and realized what they had. And, a couple of them went up and a couple of them moved up and did pretty well. And like in New Mexico, we had some characters. And in the Brahmas, we had some characters. And as far as the Brahmas thing go, Cliff and Jeremy were the actual coaches. When I moved to Texas, I just kind of started, I reached out to Jeremy and they're like, yeah, come on out to practices, started going to some games and everything like that. But I wasn't even truly like an official part of it. But I was just there helping out as much as I could.
Team photo? What are you talking about?
Oh, that's right. I am in the team photo. I even forgot all about that until I called somebody frugal and then I was banned from the arena for the word frugal. But no, I wasn't wrong, and I clearly like my opinions. But it turned into be, like I said, 2 outstanding long friendships I have with 2 guys. I'm closer with Cliff because Jeremy doesn't know how to respond to a text. No, and I'm looking into the camera as I say this.
And I will too. I work with your ass every damn day. Answer the phone.
Yeah, and here's the best part. He walks around like this.
Yes.
All day. So we know you see it, and we're sick of it. But Jeremy's also, we're picking up. Jeremy's also probably one of the nicest guys and the most giving people. Cliff and I were.
He is Canadian by definition.
Yeah, as a prototypical Canadian, when Cliff and I had to move or do something, Jeremy's like, just come here. And yes, there was a point where we all lived under the same roof, and yes, it was anarchy. But it was also fun.
That will not be an episode.
It might be one of my episodes, but a different kind of episode. But
That'll go on. That'll have an E attached to it for
yeah, yeah. But there's definitely like a day and age now where everything's changing with all of it. I do want to do an episode where I want to I want to do an episode where I want to talk about what it is for players not yet in juniors and things they need to know before they go into juniors, because like you said, there's a lot of great coaches out there that do not lie. I don't know all of them anymore. I do know some of them that are still there, and their tenure is proof of that. But there's a lot of other coaches out there that promise the moon and the stars, and they're full of crap. There's also the same with a lot of people that are considered
family advisors.
Family advisors. Yeah, I couldn't even think of the word. They're family advisors, but they're very self-seeking. They're into this.
Just like the coaching, there's some great ones out there that are in it for the right reasons, and then there's a lot of shady bastards out there that are definitely not in it.
Yeah.
The players.
And family advisors, I mean, they get paid two different ways. A lot of them will charge the players, and they're worth every dime because they'll put the player in front of a team that never would have saw him, and then they'll have a good career. There's other family advisors, I think, that if it's a pay-to-play league, might get a kickback from the team. I don't know if that's still a thing or if they're just charging the players outrights now. But that's important to know what to look for when it comes to those kind of guys, too. As coaches, we deal with them all the time, and pretty much within 5 minutes, we know who the shitbags are. You know, there's so much to go over with that kind of stuff. But, you know, kind of getting towards the end of the whole concept here, like I said, with the amount of things that we want to talk about. And the things is, A, comes from our knowledge, but it also comes from us talking to people. That we're not spitting off of old facts. Like I said, Cliff coaches hockey. He deals with junior players, but he's not a junior coach anymore. So it's not like he still knows everything. So he still has to talk to people. And honestly, it's almost fascinating the way the world changes, but it's also almost fascinating how a lot of it's just the same old bullshit. But, you know, it's at the end of the day, they're teams, they're businesses. And we'll get into that stuff. Like I said, we have a whole episode revolving around the cost of hockey and my concerns with the future of hockey because of the cost. I'm not even going to get into that now. But, I mean, just as a quick overhaul of what hockey used to be, especially at the junior level. This isn't it's soft now kind of thing. Because let me tell you, I watch these players in the NHL get hit. There's nothing soft about hockey. But they're getting hit by bigger and faster people. No, thank you.
Just as an example, like our team alone, this coming season, we averaged just under 6'1", about 200 pounds. And we almost had a kid that was 6'8", 220, but he's doing another year of juniors.
It's unbelievable. Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that kid.
And yeah, all right, we've got a huge team. And that includes a couple guys that are like 5'6". We're still averaging well over 6 foot.
Let me tell you, like I always talk about, everyone talks about me growing up and playing and then going to college. I told Cliff this story. When I got recruited, my coach said to me, I don't want you to think you're a skilled player. I'm 5'8", and at the time I was like 195, and I was just strong. And I worked harder than most of the people. That's kind of been my thing always as a player, is like working harder. But I sure as heck was not the guy that's going to go dangle and score these goals. I had a hard shot, like Fulton Reed. No one knew where it was going. And I hit people. I loved hitting people. And even the way I coached, I still focused a lot of my coaching on a physical style of play, which doesn't always work this day and age, and for everybody. And but one thing I will say is, and this is going to sound harsh, but fine. Not every one of your kids is meant to go play junior hockey. They're not all good. Some of your kids suck at hockey, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they have to be good at any sport. It doesn't mean they can't be in hockey, even if they're bad. You know, there's a ton of different routes. If they know the game mentally, maybe they're just not skilled physically, they can learn to do video, or they can get into the PR side. Like I said, it's a business. There's a million things. I'm fortunate enough to still be in hockey behind the camera as a photographer, one of the photographers for the Capitals. And I get to be around the greatest goal scorer of all time. And it's awesome. I was looking at Cliff. I was waiting for some kind of comment. But he's got the record. He's the greatest. But anyway.
I couldn't say anything to that.
Yeah. But sometimes Cliff gets a look, and you know he wants to say something, or he's trying to think of something to say.
Nothing.
But like I'm fortunate enough to be in it. That Cliff is fortunate enough. He's still in as a coach, and you never hear a bad thing about him.
That's
you know,
not true.
Some of the referees might have some bad things.
That's not true. You definitely hear bad things about him.
Well, I mean, they're wrong, because Cliff is a damn national treasure, and he should be treated as such.
Yeah.
But the game's evolving a ton, and like when I say what hockey used to be, quick synopsis of it. It used to be junior A, B, and C here in America. When I was, it was different when I was way younger. When I was coming out of like in my high school ages, junior A was the top. It was like the USHL, the NAHL at the time, and then there was, I believe, it was the America West. It was the other division, I think. That's what it was called. Those are tiers, basically what's now tier 1. You don't pay to play. They were the top of the top junior A guys. There's junior B, which basically was still pretty decent hockey, but nothing spectacular. But these guys would move up to junior A. Junior B guys still did go play in college, whether it be at Division 3, or even some of them still went Division 1. And then there was junior C, which just wasn't really great hockey. Some of those guys maybe moved up to junior B. And it was a proper system of skill of where these guys belonged in hockey. And Canada still has junior A and B. And do they have C in Canada? They still have junior C in Canada.
Yeah.
They still do it, and they do it right, which is why, as far as the juniors processing, they actually have a much better. Well, I say that with everything changing, but yeah. So they still do the junior A, B, and C, and then everything here went to junior A, tier 1, 2, and 3, because honestly, parents. And if you're one of these parents, screw you. You're a problem. Because these parents basically said...
Wait, screw you and your checkbook.
Yeah. Well, very good point. And that's the thing is, like, they're like, oh, I want my kid to play junior A. So USA Hockey found an opportunity to say, everybody's junior A, and these levels now pay. And now you have tier 1 and tier 2, which are non-paid leagues. Both phenomenal. I mean, even there's the North American Hockey League, which is growing by the day, I feel like. Like the NAHL is pumping out D1 kids, and kids are making an impact. They're pumping out good coaches. I mean, John Cooper came from the NAHL and worked his way up. So I mean, the NA is a good league. It is a good league. There's good players in it. They're starting to do really good things. Even like for a lot of the attendances are going pretty well. And a lot of teams used to always have good attendance. But that's what it used to be versus what it is now. Maybe I'll get on my soapbox again and talk about what it means when you're committing to a team versus a team committing to you.
And to take it another level, and I will say, because it's funny you mentioned, I was just looking at this exact thing this morning on the NAHL site, the North American League site. They post their list of commitments. Now, one thing they will do is they have a little mark they'll put next to a name if that commitment came before they joined that team.
That's pretty good.
So they will at least mark on there that it was a commitment from, they played at a Minnesota high school somewhere and then went to the North American League, but committed out of the Minnesota high school league. They won't say previous team, but they'll put a mark saying that commitment came.
Like prior commitment kind of thing.
Or they'll put in there, let's say a kid went from the North American League to the USHL and then committed somewhere. They'll still list him, but they'll put it as former player.
Which is good because, I mean, they're still using that team for development.
Yeah.
And if he goes and has a good career, you give credit to the team then.
Sure.
But
I coached Jeremy Swayman.
Cliff Cook coached Jeremy Swayman. And here's the thing.
I did.
but Jeremy remembers Cliff. I saw Sway when the team was coming in, when they get off the bus playing against the Bruins. And, it's probably because you smack your microphone in the middle of doing that.
I know.
But,
Shut up.
Like Sway came through and I was on the phone and I saw him. Was I on the phone? I wasn't on the phone with Cliff. No. But I saw him and I was like, hey, Sway. And he doesn't know me. I'm the Capital Scene photographer. Swayman has no idea who I am. But I was like, hey, I'm friends with the guy who used to coach you. I'm like, do you remember Cliff Cook? He goes, Cookie? He's like, tell him I said what's up. Like, which is a great response. He remembered Cliff. Still called him by the forever nickname that Cliff will have. Which we didn't even cover that. Did I even call you Cookie in the beginning?
There are people in Springfield, Missouri that don't even know my name is Cliff.
I mean, he's always been Cookie, but he's also been Cliff.
Back here, my Northwood School beer stein that I got when I graduated, it says Cooker on the back because that was what my high school coach, the nickname he gave me.
I mean, again, if you're new to hockey, if your name doesn't already end with the sound of E, you will now have, like, Jeremy Laws, Lawsy, Cookie. It's just the way.
Well, you're either getting an ER added or a Y. I mean, it's.
Mm-hmm. And if you already have that Y at the end of it, you can't do the ER, but then they'll just mess with your first name.
Yeah.
So it's kind of how it is. But that's actually one of the fun things about hockey, are the names and the nicknames. And the names you call each other, but that we definitely cannot put into an episode. But yeah. So welcome to the world of my tangents, by the way, because as we were talking
Maybe
about
the Plex episode.
that, I think that one should only go to me, you, and Jeremy. But
That a Patreon one?
yeah, the Plex and the Loft. I mean, there was part 2. I mean, we had 2 seasons to that. But
Stay in the loft. That was you guys.
no, but you were still there. You were still part of it. But yeah, it was quite the shenanigans. But yeah, and I mean, again, apologize about the tangents. Get used to that. But the landscape of junior hockey, the only thing you're going to get guaranteed in the landscape of junior hockey is change. Things are going to change. A team that could win it all the time can suddenly go defunct. It's just the way it is. But
The Royals.
yeah, and I mean, they had great uniforms, and Cliff created those uniforms, and they were sick. That was
Everybody wants to hire me. I talked about not sure how long I'm going to be on the bench, but he needs to hire me as a uniform designer. Anything.
he made clean. Actually, I believe you're the one that I gave you the idea what I wanted for Central Wisconsin, and you created that one too.
I did the New York Aviators ones when I was coaching there as well.
That's right. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the St. Louis Blues stole your idea from my Central Wisconsin one because their alternate uniform this year was almost identical. And you know what's funny is that a lot of the photographers here hated it, and I love that jersey. But I know what you said about the Blues changing colors, but
Yeah, I told you that. I went to a couple games this year, and it was a different color blue between the jersey and the pants. It was just weird.
that reminds me. I'll see if I could plug in a picture in an episode from when I shot the game, see if I noticed that. Because I didn't even notice it at the time, but I was also focused on the team in red, not the black jersey that day. Pretty sure we wore our reds that day. But yeah, there's a huge landscape to hockey, which is why it'll be a repeating thing. It's a sport we're both closest to. It's always changing. And honestly, the one thing I would hope out of these episodes is that maybe there's some parents out there or young players that might catch wind of this and realize they need to ask more questions. They are welcome to reach out to us and ask these questions because it's important that you protect yourself going into the future of your hockey career, because the wrong place, you could be a pretty decent player, going to the wrong place might alter where you end up.
And having said that, let's just make clear, we're not family advisors that are going to go track down a team for you. We can just answer some questions based on our experience. The fact I'm still, coaching at the college level. John's around hockey all the time still. I'm not going to go and be your agent and find you a team, but
Go to Drury University
yeah,
in Springfield, Missouri.
we'll do our best to answer them or get you in contact with the good people that we know that can answer them even better than we can.
And that's the thing, the good people.
Yeah.
We're not going to send you to.
Good people in all leagues. We're not
Yeah.
we're not defined by one league or one organization, USA Hockey, AAU, whatever they're doing over there now.
I don't even know what's going on with the leagues anymore. I can't be committed to any league, so.
It's funny. We don't much either. There's been so much craziness well, okay, let's put it this way. We're going to have 29, I think, on our roster this year. 27 are Canadian.
Which means you probably will have the most polite team in the league.
Off the ice, on the ice, sure.
Well, on the ice is where they let it all out. That's why they're so nice off the ice.
But to me, that's kind of a. It's not that there aren't. Whenever we talk about this, it's like, oh, you don't want to find American players. Well, there's other factors. One, our school has a pretty cool opportunity for Canadians, which helps. But two, there's so much, as you said, kind of instability in American hockey right now. Not knowing where kids are, even how to find them, how to talk to them. I don't know why leagues don't bother to post contact information for coaches. I mean, part of it I get because you don't want crazy parents, but tell you what, if your kid's on the team, your parents should have that info anyway, so why are you hiding it? But simple contact information for college coaches to reach out to teams about players. I mean, I get emails from like two out of, what did I say, almost 300 teams. There's like 2 teams that'll email me about their players, and it's guys that they're not the good guys.
Which is kind of crazy
but I'll
because
give them credit because they are trying.
Yeah, but then that's what I'm saying. It's like that's the other thing too. Is it's like you have all 300 teams, and they're not reaching out to you to send these kids to a place where they can have this outstanding college experience. go play in front of a packed house. And to shine some light on numbers, people hear 1,200 to 2,000 be like, oh, that's not a lot of people. The arena's not that big. So it gets so loud in those arenas. When I was in Spooner, our arena held 1,500, I think. And it was the only thing to do in town. And we were the worst team by 400 nautical miles. And our place was sold out every night. And it was loud as heck in there. And it was crazy. And they knew everything. It was almost like a pro experience for these guys. And that's just the thing. It's an awesome college experience. That's the most fun about playing college hockey is to be. And to give you guys an idea, you said you guys hold what, 12, 15?
It's about 1,200. It depends on what the fire marshal thinks that day.
Okay, so you look at some big time Division I colleges, like you take, especially out east. You look at Yale, St. Lawrence, Clarkson. I believe Northeastern's arena hold about 2,000. Like it's not a massive place. Like North Dakota holds a ton, because what else are you going to do in North Dakota? But Michigan holds a lot. Notre Dame holds a pretty good amount. But like a lot of these college rinks, I mean, Arizona State holds 5,000. We only know that because the Coyotes had to play there. And even they didn't sell out there.
And it's like any college sport. There's just nothing like a college sport atmosphere. There's just nothing like it. And if your program's putting in the work like we do, Missouri State does, I mean, you want an opportunity to come see what ACHA hockey's all about. And yes, I am going to promote us and Missouri State to a bit here. Early December, come to Springfield, Missouri. For the first time ever, Drury and Missouri State are going to play a Division I hockey series. It's going to be insane.
It's going to be pandemonium. You guys got that done? You didn't even...
Yeah. Our schedule's not announced yet.
Right.
That one I can throw. I don't care because I want that out there for both our school's sake. It's good for both of us.
That's going to be massive.
It's going to be insanity. They already get 1,200 fans. We're getting about 800 to 1,000 fans a game. Now you're going to combine that. It's going to be...
It's going to be a sold-out game. It's absolutely going to be a sold-out game.
It's going to be nuts, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We actually obviously had a great year last year. They've got a established strong program. Down here a little bit, but they'll have a better team this year and do well. So it's going to be pandemonium.
And to pump Cliff's tires, and we'll wrap it up on this. We're going to wrap this up, pumping Cliff and Jeremy and Drury. When you look at these kind of things, so Drury went Division I this year for the first time. The year before they were Division II.
Program's been around 3 total years.
3 total years. They were Division I this year, and when you talk about having the right people in place to make the right things happen and to bring a program to where it needs to be. Like, we talk trash on Jeremy. Jeremy's a phenomenal coach. He's an outstanding recruiter.
Best coaching, and it's a lot of his, because of his upbringing, his dad and all that.
Mm-hmm.
His hockey mind is, and you don't know it because he acts like just the big dumb Canadian, but his hockey IQ is through the roof.
He sees things.
And his recruiting, like you said, I've been on record. I'll say this even publicly here. I am not a great recruiter. I'm just not. I just suck at it. And it has more to do with the fact, and this goes back to the junior conversation. Again, we're going to keep this conversation going in future episodes. But
yeah,
I have a hard time looking at a parent saying, yes, send your kid to me. Oh, by the way, pay me $7,800 while you're doing it.
Thank you for marketing the cheap team.
I suck at that part of it. I asking people for money like that.
It is tough. That is a tough thing to do, even with the payment plans and stuff like that. But
so hard.
But yeah, I mean, and that's the part, and that's where Jeremy excels.
He's so good at every aspect. God, why are we pumping his freaking tires right now?
You know what? As much as we talk, we love Jeremy to death, and like he's been successful everywhere for a reason. And he's just and the other great thing is the way he is with players. Players will continue to message him and stay in contact with him years.
They will. And again, you and I, you're more, I think, more towards his side than maybe I am, to a point, not to the extreme that he is. Not that I'm not necessarily a player's coach, but I'm not like their buddy.
Yeah.
And not that he's doing that, but he's got a much more relationship. That's again, when we talk about strengths and weaknesses and personalities and stuff, that's one for me. I'm not buddy with the guys. I love my guys. I love them to death. I would do anything for them. But I'm also one of those, and I'll have to find the quote sometime. It's an old John Wooden quote that asks, what made him or how does he know he's been a successful coach? Something along that lines, and it's the relationships, and I have those mainly with guys like you that I've worked with. The players, it's kind of like, I've done my job, you've done yours. Go do your thing. Good luck. If we meet each other again, awesome. If not, I'm still pulling for you from afar. We're not hanging out and having beers 10 years down the road.
I did not hang out and have beers with my junior players. Let me just put that out there.
But the ironic part is, and I know we're going a little long here, nothing has made me happier in my life, going back to the Northwood side of things, than be able to go back to Lake Placid. I missed the reunion this year. It literally is happening as we speak. At my 30th. Yeah. God. Don't look at me like that. But one of the greatest moments of my life, this is how I'll end it, is being able to go back to Northwood to sit with Tom Broderick, Brody, who was my high school coach, my mentor, has become since those days a good friend, which is the irony in the fact that I don't necessarily do that with my own players, but he's that for me. He's that guy. And going sitting in a bar and having a beer with him and just shooting the shit is one of the most amazing things that's ever happened in my life, hockey or otherwise.
And it's Lake Placid, one of the most serene places.
Well, I mean, again, I could talk forever about Lake Placid. It is still the place I want to be. Northwood's still the place I want to be.
The internet doesn't have enough bandwidth to listen to Cliff go on about Lake Placid.
If any of the Northwood people are watching, that you know this, we've talked about this. I'm still waiting for that call.
That's Cliff's dream job, coaching up at Northwood, coaching in Lake Placid, which, you know what, every time I go there, it's funny. I went there, I think I called you from Lake Placid when I was photographing the ECACs when I was up there. And I before I even walked into the 80 Olympic Arena, I walked in, I'm just kind of looking around. You see the mountains, everything. It was snowing like crazy. I mean, it was the perfect winter scenario. I called Cliff, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. And I've been up there. I played at that rink my whole life. Like, not my whole life, but I played up there a ton. And
to me, it's home.
Yeah.
It always has been. It's just where I belong, for sure.
Yeah, and my name is on the walls of that arena up there. Yeah. Cliff's or not.
Which bathroom stall?
Not with a Sharpie or anything, man. It's the New York Hockey Hall of Fame thing. It was for my team that when we won states in New York, and they have a thing for it. So it's just funny. I didn't even know it was happening.
Well, mine's not on a wall. I do have a plaque from there to the journalism side of things. I won the Mirror Award for the school newspaper, yeah.
Oh, see, there you go. He's also on the walls of Cookie Was Here, WUZ.
Yeah.
Actually, no, Cookie's always been a good writer. He would have cleaned it and then rewrote it. If he spelled something wrong, it would have drove him nuts.
I am absolutely judging your grammar as we speak.
I speak English goodly. Thank you very much. The sad part is English and history are my two strong points. Please don't ask me to do any math at all. Ever.
Talk history.
That's right. But yeah, exactly. That's where I'll excel and not shut up even more than usual. But yeah, we ran a little bit long on this one, but I guess the first one kind of has to. And if I could chop it down, I'll chop it down. Honestly. And this is just how it goes. But at the end of the day, is like I said, we're hoping we can help people educate people with things. We're hoping we can learn things as far as it changing with it all as well. And for those that are watching, this will be streamed. Definitely, I'm going to be putting. We're not doing live streaming yet. This is all pre-recorded. It's gonna be on Tuesdays right now. And yeah, you got to let me edit this thing, man. But we're gonna be. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're probably due for a couple extra next time. Then.
We want F-bomb. If you watched the little test run John posted on TikTok the other day, I think I had 5 in the first 10 seconds.
In all fairness, Cookie had no idea I was putting that up.
I didn't know that was being recorded because we were testing. I did not know he was going to post that, so I was dropping F-bomb. I'm sure my family's like, what the hell, man?
We failed with him. But but you know what though? It's the people that watched it and commented and liked it and they shared it. Like that's why we were very excited to do this. There will be other sports we'll talk about a bunch. It's the end of the hockey season, so why not? And it's the thing we know most about. Like we can release this and not look like complete idiots. But if there's things you want to know about in hockey, message us. Let us know. We'll talk about that. Also, there's just going to be a lot more coming out with everything. This will be on YouTube. It's going to be on my page on YouTube. There will be links for everything. I'm going to inspect the Spotify route. I haven't even looked into that yet. I was on, honestly, we did our test and I got so excited for it. I didn't even look at the Spotify thing. And then there'll be clips on Instagram and TikTok as well. And just keep interacting with it. You know, some of it, if you're not a hockey person, might be long-winded for you. It's a story of our life. we are not at all. We're not at all not self-aware of how we are. We very much understand.
But I also want to say, not that we're like Renaissance men, like, but we do know we have more than to our lives than hockey. But that is obviously a major part of it, and that's kind of the point of all this is, wanting to kind of spread those wings a little bit and talk about more. But hockey's obviously going to be a big part of it because I've done it for 49 years now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on skates since I was 2 years old, and so that puts me at 44 years.
Yeah, I 49 because I am 49. My family's been in it, so even before it's on at 3, I was in it. So.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because I give Cliff crap about age, but he's like, what, 3 years older than me, 2 years older than me?
49, 50. Oh, it's coming up.
How old am I? So 4 years. Here, remember I said about the math? Cliff, help me. Help.
We're gonna need to get a neurosurgeon on to discuss CTE and.
That's going to be another one because let me tell you, when it comes to one thing I know a lot about hockey, it is head injuries.
And we're saying this jokingly. There's nothing funny about it, but
no.
I'm with you, man.
I mean, it's another quick story because I just can't say goodbye.
We've been talking about this for a while, and separately, we've both wanted to do this. And random text message from you one day, and it's like all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, we rushed into it. I had this stuff, but like I think my worst injury as far as head injuries, as far as like even something that didn't even have to happen. It was a high school game, and I checked a guy into the boards, and the guy reached around and grabbed me by my mask. He was taller than me. Surprise, surprise.
Shocker.
Grabbed me by the front of my mask and slew-footed me and whipped me down to the ice, and my head hit the ice. And I'm pretty sure I was out cold for a minute. And then, back then, this was 96, 97. I remember the question was, are you dizzy?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, yeah, you have a concussion. That was the medical thing for it. And then like 2 days later, they're like, hey, how you feeling? Are you dizzy? And I'm like, no, I'm not dizzy. They're like, oh, you're good. That was the clearance. And so you just went back into it. And I already described the kind of player I was. I was not the fancy guy. I was, that's moving. He's got the puck. I need to hit him. And just, it's all scrambled eggs up there now. And but that'll
make for an entertaining podcast with both of us being mush.
Oh, and by the way, because I can't say goodbye still, Cliff right here is actually one of the reasons that when I first got into photography, started taking it seriously, he was actually one of the people. I came and photographed some of his games.
It's so crazy.
I went with Cliff when Cliff used to be a pretty regular photographer. And I remember he had a shoot with a lady for a dog magazine.
Yeah.
And it was at a radio station. I kept getting yelled at because I was too loud. You know, it was just funny how I ended up getting into it. And then like Cliff was just dedicated more to hockey. Like we went this way. And
well, the weird thing was at the time you weren't. I mean, photography wasn't even a thought.
Not in.
And I was doing it pretty heavy, especially like the local Dallas music scene.
Yep.
Shooting a ton of bands. I didn't do much sports. A little bit with the Dallas Stars Ice Girls, and that was mainly just to get me into the game so I could watch them.
Yeah.
But because my friend was running that at the time, but I was doing mainly live music, which was unbelievable. I missed that.
I don't shoot a lot of concerts anymore, but I do love shooting concerts.
So fun.
And I'll tell anybody, if you can shoot a concert in a local venue and your pictures come out good, you're a good photographer.
Yeah, you got something figured out. That's hard.
Yeah,
the lighting could not be worse.
That is a tough thing to do. But
yeah, it's crazy that's the path you took and doing great at it. No, I'm not pumping your tires good.
Oh man, I wasn't gonna say anything. I was gonna see how long it can go.
We're not going there.
Clip almost stepped on that banana peel again. But
bomb number 2.
Yep. No, there it is. That was a well-deserved one. That was a well-earned one. I might not even beep that one out. But yeah. So there are some parts we're gonna be cutting out for sure. Welcome to the outtakes, everybody.
Oh god, this is the TikTok version.
Yeah, this is what'll be on there. But yeah, if there's topics you want, drop them in comments, send us emails. Again, if there's players or parents that have questions for their kids, please feel free to reach out. We'll give you an absolute honest answer, just also be prepared for honesty. And then as well as just, we'll have a schedule posted. We'll have more episodes posted, and we're going to keep it going throughout as long as we can kind of do it. I think it might not be a bad thing here after the test. So.
No, I'm excited. Like I said, this is something I've wanted to do personally for a long time, and that text you sent me a few weeks ago kind of was the kick in the rear. I needed to set this thing up and get what I needed to get it done, and here we are.
I like your setup. I like the setup you have. I'm blessed with the feature of depth of field right now, because otherwise it's really just my window.
Marquette Royals did the Donate Life Night, Skate for Life.
Oh yeah. However, we do need to change your one tie there. We do need one of your pink ties up there.
Well, you know what this is? You Tim Zemmons. You remember Tim?
Yeah. Oh, that is cancer tie?
Yeah, that's the Hoffman Foundation.
Okay, never mind. Leave that tie.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere. You kidding me?
Well, I didn't know, man. Back up.
What's wrong with you? That's obviously the big one right behind me. That's that jersey behind.
That's pretty cool.
That's the big one.
Maybe that's something we should do next year. We should go to the game.
Oh God.
At Barclays, my buddy Dennis can get us in. He's the arena photographer there.
Well, the guy, that number 22 I got for a reason. That's 22 is not my number, as you know. The 27 over here is my number. That's my guy Rob Serra, and again we've blown past the limit we were gonna. I will say this: Rob's another Northwood guy. He was a year younger than me. Rob was a New York firefighter. His first day on the job was 9/11, and he was a big part of the FDNY's hockey team. And I'm not going to sit here and tell Rob's story. You can go look for himself. He was featured on NHL Network.
Maybe we can get him on.
Probably, yeah. But it's worth going to see. If you just do a YouTube search for Rob Serra, ROBSERRA, go find. There's some great stories on him. He's been a huge advocate for first responders from 9/11. If you saw Jon Stewart talking to congressional hearings, Rob's literally sitting right next to him.
Oh, really? Because I have seen that numerous times, which was great.
Rob's been one of the huge spokesmen for the first responders that day, and like I said, he was featured on NHL Network. He talks about Northwood, obviously, and FDNY and everything, but and the health issues he's got, which are significant because of it.
I bet.
But yeah, he's one of the main faces of. I mean, he's doing it again now because it just recently went back to Congress to try and get more money for.
I was about to say the compensation stuff.
Yeah, he's. You would have seen him without realizing it, probably.
Probably.
He's an amazing human being. He's a hero without question, and that 22 is for him. If I could turn it around the back, that's the commemorative jersey from the 20th anniversary. The numbers on the back have the names of the firefighters.
Oh wow!
In the numbers, it's spectacular.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I think that is a good point.
That's a good one to end on, I think.
That is a phenomenal one to end on. Dennis Da Silva, I'm going to force you to watch this. Just know me and Cookie are coming to the game. Make it happen. But yeah, so tune in more. Again, it's called All Angles Podcast, and the whole reason for that name is we're covering everything. Talking about everything. All sorts of people, but not just hockey. In fact, hockey's going to be just a portion of it. You know? So... but we'll be getting into much more of it, and we'll be announcing when they're released. And I don't know how to say goodbye. Should I just hit end? Should I Irish goodbye like I do at parties all the time?
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Like and subscribe.
Oh, that's
the YouTube thing, man.
That's right. Oh, does that mean I got to do something silly in the beginning?
No, you don't have to do that. Just subscribe, leave a comment.
I immediately almost went to my Peter McKinnon thing. He's my favorite photographer. But I won't do that. So yeah, like and subscribe to the YouTubes, follow on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere we're gonna be. Everything will be up here. I definitely respond to just about everything.
You might not like the response.
No. And let me tell you, Cookie definitely started a war with this Screaming Eagle jersey, and let me tell you, we will not let this die.
I know. I told you before we got on. I got a message from a good friend of ours.
Yep.
Yeah.
I almost tried to get myself a jersey just to wear for today.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody, except you, Cliff. I don't appreciate you.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, see ya.